This was on my account. I'm sorry. Let me. This was on my account. I'm sorry. Let me. This was on my account. I'm sorry. Turn that down. This was on my account. I'm sorry. Turn that down. This was on my account. This was on my account. This was on my account. Now we're back. 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 How about now? 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 All right, still got one problem. How about now? Fixed. All right, still got one problem. How about now? Fixed. All right, still got one problem. How about now? Fixed. All right, still got one problem. How about now? Wow, I wasn't expecting these problems, but such 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 I wasn't expecting these problems. Now I got such I wasn't expecting these problems. Now I got such I wasn't expecting these problems. Now I got such I wasn't expecting these problems. Now I got such I wasn't expecting these problems. Now I got such I wasn't expecting we're good to go. Now I got alright, we're good to go. Now I got alright, we're good to go. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was busy getting some other good stuff. Now I got I was. How about now? Does it sound better? All right, good. All right, I shut a few other things off that I didn't realize that were on. There you go, just one Paul. Hey Nelson, how you doing? And I want to say anonymously to a certain person. Hey Paul Johnston, how you doing? Good to see you. But I wanted to say to a certain person, I am so very grateful and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. What you did literally takes care of a large percentage of the internet bill to take care of so that I can continue to live stream and put up my videos. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart so much. Thank you very much. Due to the fact that with me being laid off and permanently laid off from where I was and my age being 53 and being a machinist, it's going to make it very difficult to get work. So I was praying about it and praying about it and praying about it, and I had in prayer I had an answer, and I was told to, for the time we have left, I am to go full time with this ministry. So that's what I'm doing. Which I never did before, which I am now. For those that wish to donate to this ministry, I will accept it, and all monies take care of the necessary bills so that I can continue to live stream and preach and do the videos. That's pretty much it. Nothing like these other people trying to get rich. All I want to do is to be able to continue to minister to the people, to wake them up to where we are on the timeline. Yes, Diane. God has shown me that. He really has. It's been I will be able to here shortly. Due to the guideline strike on my main channel, Paul Adams, I was locked out from live streaming on that channel, and it wasn't like I did any major violations. On the video that they struck me on, they struck me for what they called violent and graphic content. But the violent and graphic content they struck me on came from CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and BBC on their YouTube channels themselves. It wasn't a copyright strike. It was a guideline strike. They said it was too graphic and it was too violent. Yet it came from mainstream media YouTube channels themselves. So they struck me, and they basically shut down my live streams on my main channel. So I jumped to my backup channel right here. Now on February 8th, of this coming month, my live streaming will be restored on my main channel, and I will let you all know here on this channel that the mainstream, my live streaming will go back to my main channel. But I will still feed it back to this channel also. Now, what are you looking at in the background here? You've been seeing a lot of stuff behind me. Government debt, the next economic collapse, the arrows down, the wave of the fiat currency that's blasting in. After the fall, what happens after the next economic collapse? Are you prepared? This is what my research that I've been doing over the past couple days has really blown me away, because my research has been connecting the economic booms, the economic collapses, and the wars that have followed, and how all three have been interconnected, and they're binded completely. You cannot have one without the other, without the other. I was doing a lot of research on this, and I went back through the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, 9/11, which led to the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, 2008, which led to the expanse of the war in Afghanistan and the United States involvement in Syria, and where it leads to today. Oh, I'm sorry, Love Warrior. I know how that goes. I truly, truly, truly do. My spasms and the cramps that I get usually are like late at night and they're in my feet. And my feet cramp up really bad and it's like they're twisting. I'm like, oh, and I wake up and I gotta try to walk around and work the cramps out. Oh, let me tell you what, that is tough. Yes, that's what my dad told me. My dad had the same problems. And that's what his doctor told him to do. And I'm like, well, let me see now. It's like 8 degrees outside. So if I step outside and stand out on the ice, Dad's like, don't do that because then you'll get sick. I'm like, well, excuse me. Love Warrior, let me ask you a question. When you get the ringing in your ears, do you feel like a wave going through you? I'm serious. Like you feel like an energy wave going through you when you get the ringing in your ears? That's a serious question. Hey, Ethan, glad to hear. That's all cool. You can't talk, fine, man, but glad to see you're here. Um, when I prayed about my situation, and God told me that my job was to be full time watchman on the wall, and his ministry, not my ministry, his ministry, proclaiming to the masses where we are in the timeline and waking people up to come to Christ. Um, my live streams are no longer only Friday night at 10 p.m. They're going to be many more nights, and I will be doing a lot more videos. What God puts on my heart, I do. So here I am. But they're wrong, Nelson. I mean, they're not wrong, but they're not right. They're kind of half wrong and half right because the mark of the beast is a number. It is a count, and it says count the number of the beast. Now, believe it or not, Diane, I swear to you on this. I was in prayer and meditation, and I had a major spiritual experience with the Lord, and I made a dedication to Him that I would not a razor would touch my hair until His return. Now, I got the split ends that go, and it keeps it from going longer and longer and longer. And I got family going, cut your hair, at least cut the split ends. And I said, I can't. A razor cannot touch my hair. I'm not Samson, but this was a dedication that I made to the Lord for me, not for anyone else, for me. But it was my dedication to the Lord, so the hair stays long. Oh, Mrs. JK, nothing. We just got on just a bit ago. I started at 9:30. Um, so what time is it now? I don't know. Oh, 9:48. So you're 18 minutes late. That's it. No big deal. Oh, I'm sorry. However YouTube works. But let me ask you all a question. You saw red dots next to my channel. But the question that I had for you all was this. How many of you remember what year did World War One actually start? Does anybody know? 1912 was the year that the actual issues that broke out and the assassination of the one diplomat that brought in World War One happened in 1912. But that's not when World War One actually finally broke out. That was what started everybody from forming sides and getting ready to go. But World War One broke out in 1914. I didn't know that. I thought it was 1912 until I did the research and went, wow. Hey, Scott, good to see you. Fantastic. Really, Troy, tell us about it. But, and we're going to get into the 1929 stock market crash here very shortly. But in 1912 was when the assassination of I'm brain farting on this. I just did all the my brain's like just so soaked with so much information. Um, uh, the assassination of the diplomat on brain, but this is what caused the formation of the sides. But there was still no war. But something happened in 1913. Does anybody know what happened in 1913? Literally, there was a major occurrence that happened in 1913 that changed the economies globally. Troy's close. Ethan's got it. The Federal Reserve was created. And at the same time that the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, they started income tax across the board for all, what was it, 48 states at that point in time. What happened? There was an economic collapse in the United States that went across in ripples across the globe. In 1914, World War II broke out. The United States had suffered through a major depression, and in 1917, something happened. Does anybody remember or know what brought the United States into World War I? All right, Troy, we'll be waiting for you. Well, it wasn't the Titanic, but you're very close. It was the Lusitania. And what had happened was the German government informed the United States and England, mainly the United States, because they knew the United States was sending munitions into Europe against Germany and their allied nations. And they said, do not send any more ships with munitions in. We will sink it. The United States sent the Lusitania with American people, civilians on board as a cruise ship directly into the path of where the Germans said not to send any ships. And the Lusitania was actually filled with munitions. And the Germans knew this, and they sunk it. At which point the propaganda was used for the sinking of the Lusitania to bring the United States into World War I. Economic boom, economic collapse, war. Now we come out of World War I. Yes, a man was shot. That was what was he? I forgot what nation he was from. I'm like my brain is just like soaked with all this information that I got it all in tabs on my laptop, and it's like just yeah, but think about it. The name of the ship was the Lusitania. Lucifer, Lusitania, kind of makes you go, In the crash in 1929, the United States had been involved in a 7-year economic boom that in 1929, when the economy crashed, and it was crashed on purpose from the Federal Reserve, it was out of the blue, no one expected it. And national economies were destroyed, including the United States. Personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Personal treasuries, people that built up their life savings, rich people, millionaires, lost everything. They were jumping from buildings. Now, I was looking in this, and it's going to be in the video that I'm doing, but there were military conflicts that the United States got involved in shortly thereafter, following that collapse, that you never hear about in the news or in history, that I was running across going, I never knew we were involved in that, or that, or that, but we were. Now here's another one. There was an economic collapse. After 7 years, once again, we're at that number, 7 years of an economic boom, and the whole globe was following this boom with the United States. There was an absolute collapse in the economy in the United States. That was in 1938. What happened? 6 months later, World War II broke out. And you go, well, you're kind of just putting one thing together and it's kind of coincidence. I understand how you can say that. But understand this. In 1949, okay, in 1938 was the collapse. 39 was the start of World War II. Now, the United States is not getting out of the hole. Something happened. Now, let's go back. You remember the Lusitania? That was all pre-planned. They sent that ship in knowing they were going to sink it. Let's talk about Pearl Harbor. Did you know there's evidence that's actually out there now that actually, beyond a shadow of a doubt, proves that the federal government knew, the president knew, well over an hour before the attack that was going to happen on Pearl Harbor. They already knew it was coming. And the decision was made, don't tell them. So Pearl Harbor got bombed by the Japanese. They had no clue it was coming, yet Washington did. Why? Because did you know that 80% of the United States was against the U.S. getting involved in World War II? But after Pearl Harbor, those numbers switched completely. 80% of the United States was now go to war. And everybody was signing up to join the military. An economic boom started. The military machine kicked into effect. Now let's move the clock up to 1949. There's another economic collapse. Actually, it was 48, excuse me. In 49, the United States gets involved in Korea, in another war, which starts another economic boom. This boom lasts up until the early 60s. And then there was another economic collapse. I wouldn't call it collapse. I would call it severe, not depression, but recession. Then Vietnam. You're getting the idea. But we didn't just get involved in Vietnam. Something happened. Came across the news. It was all over the Bay of Tonkin, I think it's called. There was the sinking of a U.S. ship by the North Vietnamese. But what we have found out, and the truth has actually come out, that ship was never sunk. It was another false flag attack, which drew the United States into Vietnam. The killing of JFK, the Bay of Tonkin, the sinking of that ship. Now we're in Vietnam, and all of a sudden, now there's another economic recovery coming up. The United States was looking to step out and back off in Vietnam. And the United States people were heavily trying to, y'all know what happened in 68, 69, the anti-war movement. What happened in 72? The world came against the United States because they found out that they were like the world's reserve for the world's gold, but the United States was outspending all the gold that they had, so we didn't have the gold to give them back to their original nations. France was going to go to war to us. How many of you know that? That France was actually going to go to war with the United States in 1972, along with several other nations. The United States took us off the gold standard. This caused a big economic collapse. And then there was another move from 72 to 75 of a big push to the war to Vietnam. And through the fiat currencies and through the agreements that Nixon made with Saudi Arabia and with the other OPEC nations, was the creation of the fiat currency for which we have, which is the petrodollar. This created a new boom in the economy. Let me tell you what. I'm going to fast forward through a lot of it to the next part. I mean, listen to what I'm telling you. In 1991, there was an economic collapse in the United States. In 1987 was Black Monday, which we had never actually recovered from, and the economy was nosediving. And part of it was because Saddam Hussein, it wasn't about him invading another nation. What he did was he took his nation off the petrodollar and went on to the gold standard and was going to trade oil for gold rather than oil for the American US dollar. This whole story was made up about him invading another nation and all his... The point was they were trying to shut him down. He had no central bank. He did not want to have any connection to the petrodollar, and it was severely threatening the U.S. economy. Once and again, economic boom, economic collapse, war. This is where he was captured, they shut him down. Now, the United States goes back into another economic boom. And with the evolution, or I should say the revolution of the internet, started the internet businesses, the dot-com bubble. Businesses left and right, I mean tons and tons and tons beyond measure were opening up in the internet. This was creating this big bubble that everybody was getting rich off of. All kinds of money was being made. In the beginning in 2001, the bubble burst. And there was the first absolute major economic collapse in the United States since 1939. There were other collapses, but nothing like what this did. This was extremely intense. What happened? 9/11 happened. Now, if you're awake and you understand what I'm talking about, 9/11 wasn't a bunch of terrorists out of the deserts of Afghanistan and Iran and Iraq that blew some buildings up. Our government did this. And there is so much evidence proving that they did this. What happens? Economic boom, economic collapse, war. Now all of a sudden, we're back in Iraq, and this time we took Saddam Hussein completely out, and we're in Afghanistan. Yes, our government did 9/11. Absolutely, that's an absolute guarantee, without a doubt. Now, we're at war in Iraq and we're at war in Iran, and the economy goes back into a boom section, and then there's something that started, which was the real estate bubble, which there's two bubbles that actually started to form. The one is about to burst now, and the other one had burst, and that was the real estate bubble. Do y'all remember? Well, of course y'all remember that. Come on. I mean, even if you're in your 20s, you remember that. It was such a drastic bubble that the ripples went across the globe, and nations' economies were failing because of what happened in the United States. What was the response? Obama was elected. He was saying we're ending the war in Iraq, which was a diversion because the war that was going on in Afghanistan was increased by tenfold. And not only that, the United States got involved in the Syrian conflict, and we were financing ISIS at the same time fighting ISIS. How can you imagine to be a soldier? You're actually fighting against the enemy. You get home and find out that the enemy that you were fighting, you found out that your very own government that you were fighting for was also financing the people that you were fighting against. Man, talk about betrayal, you know? But once and again, if there was not an economic boom, but there was an illusion of an economic recovery, which led to 2015, 2016, 2017. And when Trump came into office, we've been in this major boom. The stock market has absolutely gone through the roof. Derivatives and Bitcoin are the thing, and they're both bubbles. And it's been over 7 years, and every boom has been approximately 7 years before the collapse, which follows the war. And each collapse has been worse than the next that led to war. And the last collapse was so bad. I mean, it was this last collapse we never really actually recovered from, and the boom that we've been involved in has all been a big scam and an illusion because we've actually never recovered. But we're now at the point to where the next burst is about to happen. Even Trump, and this will be in my video coming up, speaks about this is the calm before the storm. He already knew. He was already telling us there was a storm coming. Here we are. Now that's a quick nutshell explanation of the research that I've been doing? Do any of you see the connections that I've been making and understand the point that I'm going to? Yes, he did, Nelson. Absolutely. Yes, he did. Can you feel it in your bones? We're here. This is what you're seeing behind me, what I've been showing behind me. Read right up top here. Let me see if I can get my finger up there. All the way up there. What's been scrolling across the top. And it speaks about Mystery Babylon. And the world grew rich from the great wealth of her luxury. That's the United States. She is destroyed. The great city of Babylon is destroyed. Are you understanding what's happening? End of days. You got it, Nelson. Love warrior, you got to understand. As in the days of Noah, and also as in the days of Lot. And in the days of Lot, whoa, what did I miss there? Oh, okay. Lot lived in Sodom, and that is where the angels came, and that is where the people came and banged on his door and said, "Bring the strangers out," because they wanted to have sex with them. They wanted to have intimate relations with these angels. Lot was willing to give himself and even his daughters up before these angels. And the angels finally said, "Enough's enough." Christ said, "As in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of in the day of the coming of the Son of Man." He also said, "So shall it be in the days of Lot." Pizzagate, these sex perverts, all this stuff that's going on, nothing like this ever in history. All right, thank you. Normally, I wouldn't allow swearing, but in your case, Love Warrior, for what you said, I cannot disagree with you. And I don't think God would either. And the righteous. Now, oh, don't worry about it, Love Warrior. You're all good. Um, you're all fine. I have to, in my heart, I have to agree with what you said because I feel the same way. let me tell you what, you don't know how much. Privately, I'm constantly saying, forgive me, Lord, for the words that come out of my mouth when it comes to what these people are doing. All right, for those of you that come to this live stream on a regular basis, you know that we're coming on about an hour. So I'm going to stop the live stream and let it archive up so it'll be a separate video. And I'll be back in like 5 minutes, okay? So don't go anywhere. Everybody stay here, and I'll be back in just a few minutes.